Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Charlotte and I love all things craft and zero waste. It's been a while since my last video. I checked, it was about 8 months, and I moved house 8 months ago, and since then I have not done any filming, recording, YouTubing of my crafting. I never got into the routine of it. I never restarted, but spring has sprung, or is springing, and I've decided I want to start sharing again because I still am doing lots of crafting. I have been doing a lot of new crafts in the last 8 months, and I wanted to have a place to share it, and I thought this was the best format. The other issue that I have is personal to me, that I really don't like video editing. I'm not a good object photographer either, so I do find it very difficult to share the crafts that I have and that I make in the process and all that. So this is the format that I'm going to try and stick with, which is just kind of a talking video and a more of a show and tell or a retrospective walk through what I've been doing. Maybe I'll do some more process videos, but I find it very time consuming. I just don't like it. I just don't like videoing things. That might be a whole chat at some point of, you know, if you have something that you want to share, or if you have a craft or you do something that you almost have to be also a 50% time videographer to try and, if you want to share it. And I just don't buy into it. I just don't want to do that. But here I am making my minimal effort to try and get videos on. Today I wanted to talk about a French mattress that I made a couple months ago. I had the sudden inspiration. Most of my inspiration comes from Pinterest, and I wanted to make this French mattress. I had some leftover red velvet fabric, so I had this and I wanted to use it up for something. So this French mattress it seemed like a great idea, and I'll just show you. I'll show you what it is. Those of you who might not know what a French mattress is, it's basically basically it's like you might have seen these on Pinterest, but it's a mattress. You make a mattress, or it's kind of like a massive cushion that you can sit on. It's like a floor pillow, and then my idea was to make like a bunch of these that you put on the floor next to each other, like this way, and it becomes like a floor sofa. That's like the inspiration. I think it's quite like boho style, very like everyone on the floor vibes. That was the idea with this, but I've only made one. It was quite a difficult task to make this one. I didn't want to make any more after that so soon. And I mean, in the end, this red velvet doesn't really go with a lot of the aesthetic in the house. It's a little bit non-matchy with things. So I haven't found a way to really incorporate it properly into my home. I do use it though when I'm working on the floor, when I'm doing crafting on the floor, which a lot of crafts do, especially like I've done a lot of willow crafting lately, making baskets, which I'll do a video about soon. But yeah, I would just, if I want to sit on the floor, I will just put this floor pillow and then I'll sit on it. So I do use it, but it doesn't really incorporate itself very well in the home. But I want to tell you a bit about how I made it, because I kind of, watched some YouTube videos, also made it up a little bit myself, but it's quite simple to do. Basically, you make like it's a cushion cover essentially, so you can choose your dimensions. You make 2 squares, and I think these are all either they're all individual small side squares, or I can't remember now. I think they all look like individual side squares, yeah, with seams. So there'll be seams basically in every corner. And then you start by just sewing everything together, right sides together. Yeah, you sew everything together like an empty pillow box. You leave a hole, at least the size of your hand, I think. That's what I did. I left it, and then I turned it the right way out, and then you've just got an empty kind of cushion cover. Then you start filling it with filling. I did a mix of, I had some polyester filling or whatever the poly filling is, left over, and then the rest I think I filled it with sheep's wool. I had a bunch of sheep's wool left over, or still have some from last summer when I did a lot of sheep processing. I'll go into that another time. But yeah, use normal filling to fill it all up. Then starts the hard part, and by this point when you do fill it, it looks like a big bulge. I mean, it doesn't have this shape to it. You know, when you fill it, it will just bulge out and just be one blob. It will start to look blobby. But you do want to fill it quite tightly. Yeah, you want to fill it reasonably tightly, not too tight, because then you start with these buttons, basically, and they are, I mean, doubled, right? They kind of go all the way through. So I've chosen, I mean, you can choose how many you want to do. I went for this kind of 3x3 grid. You map it out, and then this is velvet, so it's quite thick fabric already, and then you have to go through your filling. So you want as long a needle as you have, which I found tricky. Ideally some kind of long type needle, and then some thread, some strong thread. Before you do the buttons, you're first going with your needle and thread, and you're going through the entire layer of the cushion, and just really tightly, you're going to tie a knot on one end, and you're just going to sew it back and forth, trying to really tightly pinch it in at this point. Really just trying to create a pinch, and it's going to be tricky. I mean, you have to use a thimble, any means necessary to stick the needle through. I found it very, very difficult and a very painful process, I'm not going to lie. But there's only 9 of them. So yeah, you basically squeeze it in with your needle and thread. And they get easier. I think the first one's the hardest because it's the most puffy, and so your needle, you have to really push it in to find the other side of the needle because it's pretty thick. It gets easier and easier as you have more. And then the last bit is to sew on the buttons. They're just for decoration purposes, but the actual tightness of it, the cinching in, is done by needle and thread. And then you do the border in a similar fashion, just with the needle and thread. You go around and you just make sure when you pinch a bit of the filling. Make sure you pinch a bit, and then you just go back and forth. I think it's quite nice when you do you can just do the top and bottom layer, but it's quite nice to accentuate these corners so you really get a nice cornered finish. But I was really happy with the end result, but it was several evenings, a lot of evenings, just to do these holes and this, and it was very painful because it's very hard to push through all this dense fabric. So I mean, I wouldn't make it again in a hurry, but I really love the finished outcome, even though it's red velvet and doesn't really fit my own style. I would still make it again in the style that I like, maybe in the future, now that I know I can make this. So I'm really happy with it. I think eventually I will give it away or sell it or something when I have no more use for it. But I'm not ready to give it up just yet. I do like to, give away most of my crafts to make room for more. I'm kind of a minimalist crafter, which is a bit of a contradiction because I keep on making things and I keep on filling my space with things, and then I want to get rid of it. But it's the process, it's the whole process, including the end result, that I enjoy. And then I also enjoy giving away, making, and then, knowing it's going to someone who wants it. And I just caveat that whenever I make something, I always try to also do it as zero waste as possible or as eco as possible. So, I try to limit my buying of new materials as much as possible. This red velvet I did buy with maybe misinformed intentions, but no one's perfect. These buttons I think I got from my grandma's stash. And yeah, the filling is semi-recycled and semi what I had lying around. So I try to buy as little as possible for everything I make. So a lot of my inspiration for crafts is driven by what I have at home and a kind of desire to use it. I'd like, my aim is to be supply free. I'm okay with having tools like I have a sewing machine, that's a tool. I have now a spinning wheel to spin yarn, that's a tool, but I don't want to have fibre, I don't want to have extra yarn for knitting, and I want to have extra fabric for sewing. I still do have a bit of all those things, but I'm constantly trying to use them up, before thinking about buying new stuff. I still buy some new stuff if I've thought about it for a long time. But anyway, my point is, I do a lot of crafting, quite minimalist, and I try to use what I already have. My parents were doing a renovation and they didn't want their curtains anymore, and they were like these huge curtains with double height ceilings, so very large curtains. I took them thinking maybe I could use it in my new place since I just moved in. I haven't used them though, and I haven't found, I'm not going to hang the curtains, basically. I'm not going to adjust or alter the curtains to fit the space because I don't need to hang the curtains anywhere. So I've been having these, I've been storing these massive, and they're massive, absolutely massive curtains, and they're just like this grey colour, and have no idea what to do with it. And I've made some couple of small projects, like I made a tablecloth out of it, but isn't that fun? It wasn't that interesting as a result. It's just a very plain grey fabric. But even just the tablecloth like barely scratched the surface of one side of the curtain drape, so it's just so huge. Anyway, I take all these curtains and things from people wanting to save them from the rubbish bin. Eventually I could maybe sell it or something, or give it away to Facebook Marketplace or whatever. But yes, I've been thinking about it for about 8 months since we moved in, how to use these curtains, and done a couple of small things. I tried to make some shoulder bags. It didn't really go as planned, and I have a lot of, I don't want to make bags. My recent idea is cushion covers, and I think I'm going to make a video on that because I have a good idea on how to use these curtains. Anyway, I digress. I just wanted to show you this today. French mattress. Yeah, let me know if anyone's interested in trying to make this, have a go at it. I've kind of explained the process, but again, there's lots of YouTube. I'm not going to do a tutorial on it. I'm just showing you what I've done and kind of explaining how I did it. But most of the stuff I do, I make up as I go along with some online help generally, but I always tweak it to kind of what I want it to be. So nothing I make is, particularly well finished and professional, especially because I usually make one version of one thing and then I try something completely new, so I don't really hone in on it, but that suits me. And this one turned out really well. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm hoping to make more videos now, and share with you the crafts that I've been up to. I think this is the best way for me to show them, so I hope you like this format, and I'll see you next time.